Following 2015's frankly disappointing year of anime, 2016 was a relief, full of surprises, experimentation, and most importantly, progression. This year has been host to some of my now favourite series. For the first time in a while, I have a genuinely hard time deciphering what I like more. And that's not to say we haven't had our fair share of bad shows. 2016 has been no exception to the storm of poorly produced calamities that everybody loves to hate. But regardless of content, it's been an interesting year for us over here in the West. The growing online streaming services mean that almost every airing show has now been picked up and subbed by at least someone. No more are the days of shows being forgotten by a lack of subtitles. We're living in a weird time where everything is available in great quality with reliable subtitles. It's also been a great year for anime coverage here on YouTube. I've completely lost count of how many new innovative anime videos I've seen, offering so many new perspectives and just generally broadening our appreciation of the medium. And I hope that all continues in 2017. But before we embark on a new year, we need to make sense of the current, to understand what 2016 meant to Japanese animation, giving us an indicator to what might be on the horizon. So here are my 10 favourite shows of the year. Gundam Thunderbolt was a huge treat. It was a beautiful showcase of intricate animation, telling a story from the Gundam universe with a stylistic twist. It was a jazz-induced mech experience in many senses. The mind-blowing action scenes and hauntingly striking character moments. For a series that only lasted a few episodes, it had massive impact. Subtle details and a slow-moving story allowed them to build up the world and its characters, delivering really engaging conclusions. To be honest, it was more of a visual experience. The narrative was at points just a baseline for its outstanding animation, but that on its own created a lot of value. Frigatsu again, more of a visual treat, but less of a flashy exhibition. The visuals here have this dark, meditated eeriness to them, long, drawn-out shots from a distance or unnatural compositions, and this mirrors into the story and its characters. There's always this underlying darkness to everything that isn't directly addressed for a lot of the story. Even the juxtaposition created by the brighter moments still work into the whirlpool of emotions in the series, and the production in general is just brilliant. The slowly animated, detailed facial expressions and the rough backgrounds just work so well. Been one of the more interesting shows of the year. Kumamiko is one of those shows that really encapsulates the cultural differences in how Japan approaches media. It really represents those feelings of curiosity I had in anime and Japanese video games before experiencing them. Kumamiko has samurais, princesses, high schools, unnecessarily complicated mech mechanics. It's like a whirlwind of Japanese culture, and the whirlwind is exactly why the show works. It's so busy with excitement and twists that you kind of gloss over how complicated and incoherent it actually is. Despite its complexities, it manages to nail the basics with intriguing characters and a somewhat easy to follow underlying narrative. I might not really know why everyone is doing what they're doing, but they're doing it with such style it's hard not to be glued to the series. After blasting through Konosuba in a day, it's easily become one of the most fun and accessible watches I've had all year. With an explosively energetic cast and wild setting, Konosuba had the reins to basically do whatever it wanted without feeling detached. It created this beautifully simple premise and just bounced ideas off it. Offering a massive range of comical approaches and styles, it uses mini adventures as a base for basically just having fun. That's not to say the series didn't offer any substance. I think the show's simple appearance disguises some really smart storytelling. I loved how the characters interacted so naturally and how the silly storylines just felt so right. The series itself somehow became a fresh take on a painfully overused premise by ignoring conventions and being just a bit wild. Unfortunately, Konosuba became a bit of a blur after a while, its characters and the odd episode being the only things that really stuck out to me. But for it to achieve what it did in such a simple and unique way is really commendable. As a massive fan of classic mafia movies, 91 Days offered to scratch an itch that animation rarely comes close to. Gangster flicks in anime are not common, and I can count the ones I've watched on one hand, and there's a reason for that. The genre relies on stark realism and believability to work. Unlike something like the samurai genre that has sword fights and epic settings, gangster stories actually offer very little in terms of flashiness. It's hard to make a business deal or an important family event matter if you're not completely immersed into that world. A realism that can be achieved quite easily with live action, but not so easily with animation. But 91 Days offered that realism by creating characters in a world that were very easy to engage with. I could really see the events of the show actually happening in that city. I could imagine these characters talking in dingy bars and squabbling over family arguments. The events of the show ended up not being as exciting as they could have been, but I felt as if I experienced a collection of important and real events in the world. It felt like everything that was happening had weight and knock-on effects. It was nice to see a change in tone from a lot of the other shows this year. DJ Agataro is by far one of the most welcome surprises of the year. A show that has the shell of a scarcely produced throwaway short, but the heart of a fantastic exploration of passion with a subtly evocative visual presence. Using its simple exterior and structure, the show explores with ease the technicalities and meaning of passion, touching on different themes of every episode. Throughout the series, our main character discovers and develops an interest in music, exploring not only the medium, but hidden emotions he didn't think he had. DJ Agataro's stark precision in nailing exactly why we love music, or any other hobby, is fascinating. There are moments that captured me with unbelievable accuracy, pinpointing perfectly emotions that dictate my passions for hobbies, all while maintaining this hilarious and not overstated sense of humour. A fun cast of characters and a surprisingly relatable world to take place in. It became one of my absolute favourite shows, and I totally didn't expect it. Flying Witch's beautiful simplicity has been really overlooked. It has received a lot of praise for its heartfelt stories and lovable characters, but people forget that the series has very little in terms of plot points or action to make this happen. For Flying Witch to create such connections with its viewer while staying extremely simple really impressed me. It uses powerful, grounded moments to build up characters, progressing over time to pay off in the very touching final few episodes. It uses a lot of classic slice-of-life techniques to create the story, utilising memorable locations and moments for future reflection. It's one that I seem to only appreciate more and more in hindsight. The village in which it takes place in, for example. We've seen this kind of setting created a number of times in other anime series, but none have been as memorable as Flying Witch's. This and a number of other similar elements are what really brought the series to life. It was simple, but so powerful. I covered Flip Flappers in detail on my channel, and I still feel like I've only scratched the surface of what the show is doing. Every detail in the series is just packed with discoverables, making it a kind of journey over destination story. A style that is very hard to execute, but certainly one that Flip Flappers excels in. My appreciation for the series comes from the depth in which I'm dragged into. Contemplating the smallest details during a scene to discover subtle information was so entertaining, and the pace at which Flip Flappers moves on from its episodes is great. Quick, focused stories made the story progress before it overstayed its welcome, and the show's vibrant style of storytelling was matched only by its outstanding visual presence, containing some of the most mesmerising animated scenes of the year, exciting world design and character designs that really resonate. The amount of effort and consideration put into even the smallest visual details just blows me away, tied together with an all-inclusive narrative that draws from every corner of literature and media. Flip Flappers ended up as an unbelievably solid product, stretching its reach over a vast plane of themes and styles, making it one of my favourite experiences of the year. Amanchu understandably aroused high anticipation, with its connections to Aria and yielding an impressive staff list. As the series approached, I realised that I had almost unreachable expectations for the show. How could it possibly stand beside one of the most powerful slice-of-life anime stories? Thankfully, Amanchu's anime adaptation delivered in everything it set out to do, leaving very little room for me to give any solid criticism. As an Ayashiki series, Amanchu nailed all the elements needed to create a deeply relaxing slice-of-life story, and also present some emotional depth and strong consideration for its thematic content. Structuring its episodes with compelling scenes of emotional investment, characters and storylines just effortlessly connected with me, balanced beautifully with the quieter moments of the series. This seamless dance between emotions and relaxation is what makes Amanchu such a diverse series, spreading its wings across multiple topics and narrative focuses. Not to mention the show's outstanding visual quality. Focusing its detailed animation and very subtle aspects of the world, it really enhanced the immersion and portrayal of emotion. The thought that went into the movement of things like hair in the wind or the falling of petals. It brought a life to Amanchu that is usually missing from similar shows. It made the show feel alive. For Amanchu to have such a profound effect on me with a small set of episodes and a very narrow narrative focus is just amazing. It's without a doubt one of the best shows of the year. I remember watching Showa Genroku for the first time so clearly. Every detail about my first viewing is crystal clear because it was such a surprise. This show came out of nowhere. No one was talking about it prior to it airing, allowing it to seep in and deliver one of the best first episodes of anime I'd ever experienced. It set the scene for this utterly breathtaking piece of storytelling without fault. I still don't think I've fully grasped the scale of just how spectacular this show was. Looking back and rewatching some of the episodes, I was just flooded with all these emotions. Showa Genroku is by far one of the most captivating stories in the medium, told with such simplicity but also with such impact. This straightforward yet dense tale is not only the best show this year, but possibly one of the best shows of the decade, or even one of my favourite shows ever. It's traditional storytelling at its greatest, a simple romance tragedy. It unapologetically keeps its feet firmly on the ground, proving that you don't need anything more than the absolute basics to create a masterpiece. This simplicity was mirrored in the visuals of the show too, using very calculated shot compositions and scene layouts to express emotion. And the show's narrow focus allowed these moments and twists to have extended impact. Some of the scenes were just utterly breathtaking in their execution and significance. Despite the amount of great anime this year, for me, nothing even came close to Showa Genroku. So overall, how was 2016? Had some really strong individual pieces, and even the average shows were still pretty entertaining. Shows like Grimgar, Real Life and Kumamiko are still certainly worth watching. I think this year has been a massive improvement on 2015. I'm so happy to have had the pleasure of watching a few of the top shows here, and I mean, they were a real treat. Going into 2017, I can only really hope that things continue. I'd love to see more like Amanchu and Rakugo, and even outside anime like the YouTube scene and online streaming, they're going in a really good direction. I'm excited to see where all that goes over the next year. So let me know in the comments, how has 2016 stacked up anime wise for you? Has it been one of your favourite recent years, or did you prefer 2015? Share all your thoughts in the comments, and be sure to click the like button and share this video around, that's super helpful. And if you haven't already, please do click the subscribe button. But that's all for this video. I really enjoyed 2016, and let's hope 2017 is just as good.